What makes this television different from any other in the world? This button. It brings you a home video game built in, a Magnavox exclusive. One touch and it's Magnavox Color TV with a color picture of astonishing clarity. Touch again, and it's Odyssey, America's favorite home video game. Why settle for just color TV when now you can have a built-in home video game too? Only from Magnavox.
Next on Family, a visit from Doug's sister creates a family crisis.
You are accusing my sister of being an alcoholic.
I am a drunk. Drunks need booze, and I'm all out. You've had too much to drink. You're in no condition to drive.
Family.
Tomorrow at 10, 9 Central and Mountain.
I'm Joe Namath, and this is the new Double Mac by Hamilton Beach. It makes 2 burgers in 60 seconds and flips its grid to make great sandwiches, too. The lid is also a terrific mini grill. Makes bacon and eggs, pork chops, pancakes, hot dogs, minute steaks, fried potatoes. Just about anything you want to cook, you can cook double quick with the new Double Mac. The best thing from Hamilton Beach since
the Little Mac and the Butter-Up Popper.
Only from the Hamilton Beach Scoville world of appliances.
Wednesday, it's Christmas in Disneyland with all your favorite Disney characters. And Sandy Duncan, Art Carney, and Glenn Campbell. Then, Richard and Karen Carpenter bring you the songs that made them international stars. With guest John Denver and Victor Borga, right after Christmas in Disneyland.
Wednesday starting at 8, 7 Central and Mountain.
Radio Shack has the perfect gift for pedal pushers. The famous Archer bicycle radios that let you play Santa for as little as $9.95. Or give the original Road Patrol radio with built-in horn and reflector. Or really make them happy with this deluxe AM/FM model. All 3 disconnect quickly for safekeeping or off-bike use. Low-cost Archer bike radios. Only at Radio Shack, a Tandy company.
Next on Rich.
They were the originators, the founders, the legends of a golden age. The innovators of TV land.
I personally have written over 1,400 songs and nearly 300 of what we in the music business call the musical stings. But I suppose I'll always be remembered, most of all, for this little ditty. I was very fast. Many of the top producers turned to me because I could score an episode in an hour. Theme song would take me maybe 2-3 hours. So they're looking for a piece of music for this particular moment. And he says to me, now Marvin, it has to be funny. But Marvin, it has to have pathos. And Marvin, I need it tonight. And I say, yeah, sure. And has to catch mice and stand on his hands. But I work at it anyhow. And I got it. Wah, 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 wah. I also wrote wink, wah. You know, a guy says, I'm not wearing that dress. And I cut him with wink, wah. And he's in a dress saying, how do I look? Later, I became something of a specialist in creating tunes for tuneless humming. Like, you know, guys trying to be nonchalant, you know, yaddy-dee, yaddy-da. I wrote that. I love this business.
MeTV, which stands for Memorable Television, is my absolute favorite TV network out there. For years I've been able to pick it up with an over-the-air antenna, and most of the time the signal and picture are pretty darn good. That said, I've always wished that I could just stream MeTV through my set-top box or over my phone or PC, and until recently, that just hasn't been possible, which is a shame because there are parts of the country where folks just can't get MeTV. The Friendly TV streaming service recently added MeTV to their channel lineup. And you know what? They didn't stop there. They've also got Heroes and Icons, better known as H&I, and Decades, and there's even more than that. Right now, Friendly TV has 9 channels that are dedicated to playing classic TV shows and movies 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you know what? There's more on the way. The really cool thing is that between all of these channels, it's pretty darn easy to find most of the TV shows that we all loved when we were growing up. And have I mentioned that you get all this for just $6.99 a month? Quite frankly, if MeTV had a streaming service of its own, I'd be willing to pay that price. Now, I should point out that if you do subscribe and stay subscribed, Friendly TV does provide me with a bit of a financial incentive. So not only do you get a ton of great TV, but you get to support my YouTube channel as well.
I wanna be like a hero in the movies, bigger than life on a giant silver screen. I wanna save the fair young maiden and hold her close while dreams come true in the final scene. I wanna be like a hero in the movies and reach the stars, though I never leave the ground. I wanna be the envy of all I see, and stand up taller than anyone around. I could be like a hero if you were by my side. I could hold the world on my shoulders if you would be my love and be my in the movies. So come with me, and I won't have to pretend. When I hold you, I feel like a hero. For every moment and every hour that we spend, I wanna be like a hero in the movies. I wanna be like a hero.
Welcome to another episode of Hostess Comic Book Theater. This week's episode is Batman and the Mummy.
The Mummy has captured the Professor and his beautiful daughter.
Great cheops!
They violated the tomb of his ancestors, and he wants revenge.
I'll roll this 2-ton stone, they'll never get out alive.
Even my special mummy ray gun won't stop him.
Well, after all, you can't kill the Mummy.
Right, he's already dead. What'll we do?
We've got to have a secret weapon. I've got it.
What is it? We've got to act fast.
We'll lure him away with an offer he can't resist.
Seems I've heard that somewhere before. What's that?
Delicious, Hostess Twinkies. I can't resist that moist sponge cake and creamy filling.
Here he comes.
I've been around for 2,000 years and I've never tasted anything so good.
Now's our chance to escape. Let's go. Gee, thanks, Batman and Robin.
For these delicious Hostess Twinkies.
You get a big delight in every bite of Hostess Twinkies.
The Live Stream Code and Rating Administration has rated this online event PG. All ages admitted. Please be kind and stay on topic.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Good Stuff Live. My name is Dave Sundstrom, and if you enjoy talking about music, movies, mostly TV from decades gone by, well, you've certainly come to the right place. So there has been a lot going on in the chat this evening. Holy cow! So many comments. I'm not going to be able to get to them all, but I do want to go in there and take a look and see who has actually been hanging out since the wee hours of the, well, for at least it looks like an hour or so. Of course, early bird Lance Chaffin, superfan Lance Chaffin, I should say, was in the house. Gary Carpenter was here, superfan Keith E., superfan Tracy Roth Myers, superfan Rob Pinto. Let's see, Daryl Johnston doing his best to remind folks to click on that thumbs up button. Thanks so much for doing that, Daryl. Let's see. And Lance Chaffin has been reminding folks of that as well. Thanks, guys. Let's see. Who am I missing? Bobby EM is here with us. Welcome to the live stream. Adrian James, Tom McCluskey, a.k.a. The Hungry Jerk, Gary Carpenter, Sonia Ritchie, Zuperplex is here as well. Always great to see Zuper. Looking through. By the way, I see our special guest, Eric J. We'll use his last name, his initial for his last name. I haven't asked him if he wants me to disclose all of it, so it's Eric J. for the time being. I'm going to work through a few things, and then we'll bring Eric on board, probably in about 25 minutes. Let's see. Who else is here? Danny Staten. Or is it Staten? It's Danny Staten. From South Carolina, my good friend there. Maximus Prime. Superfan Sean Innes. Let's see. Sarita Abney's here. Yeah. Justin's pointing out that David Crosby died today. I got a text message from Danny in South Carolina as well, letting me know that about an hour ago. Sad news. 81 years. It's a good life, but definitely sad to hear that he's passed away. He and his bandmates from Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, CSN and Y, they made some awful great music during their time. Let's see. These days ours are here. They're here, I should say. James Dye. Jerry Gillespie, a.k.a. Mark Gerard, is here. Robert Forsyth, welcome. Good to have you here. Let's see. I'm going to miss folks. I know I am. I'm sorry about that. There's just so many people in the chat. Superfan Mama Pink is with us this evening. Groovy Highway, hello. Good to have you here. Jason Goldtrap, keeping the dream alive. Welcome, Jason. The Unapologetic Geek, also known as Tug, welcome. And superfan Emily Miller, it's so good to have you in the house this evening. Tom Lemery as well, welcome. Boy, oh boy, it's just a full house tonight. Love seeing so many people here. Jay Trace, welcome to the live stream. He says, #1 fan of Lucan. Who remembers Lucan? What a fun, short-lived show that was during the 70s. Let's see. Mike D, welcome. He says, I loved Far Out Space Nuts. So did I. Anything with Bob Denver in it, I'm going to love. Daily Dan Blog, a.k.a. Danny Staten Part 2, welcome. Daryl Johnston, I've said hello, but I'll say hello again. And I'm almost through here. Man Ray, welcome. Good to have you here. Karen Lester, Alo Duarte. Custom God, hello. Hey. Let's see. 737 driver, yeah, is asking David Crosby passed. He sure did. Roger 1938, John, welcome to all of you. I'm seeing some super chats that I'll get to in just a moment. Paul Vincent is here as well. Welcome, Paul. Let's see. Thrash Pondo Ponds, super fan Thrash Pondo Ponds. By the way, for those folks that haven't had enough live stream fun after I'm done tonight, I believe our good friend Thrash Pondo will be hosting the after party over on his channel. So he always, you know what? It's just such a warm and friendly conversation over there. I'd really recommend hanging out with him if you have time. Bend Over is here. I love that username. Jeff Sadden, Chris Budarakis. So many people here tonight. John H., welcome. Maximus Prime. I think I said hello, but I'll say hello one more time just in case I missed you. And that's it. I think I got everybody. If I missed someone, hopefully I'll catch you later on in a comment. But I did want to say thank you to our executive producers this evening. And those are folks that were able to put in a super chat, a super thanks, a super sticker prior to the beginning of the live stream tonight. And those folks are Dan Campbell, John Collins, Rob Pinto, and Tracy Roth Myers. Thanks so much for your support as executive producers. And let me go back and see if I can catch some of those super chats live in the stream. It's going back and finding those. That's the trick. I put some of them on a still image a minute ago when I was seeing that so many pop in before the darn thing even started. So we had Dan Campbell who said, can't watch right now, just saying hello. Hi, Dave. Happy New Year. Rob Pinto says, I'm starting the Welk audio ban. Nice work. Way to get in front of that, Rob. Video is fine when on mute. And Tracy Rothmeyer says the Diet Coke is on me. Thank you, Tracy. Truly appreciate it. I've got it right here. And John Collins dropped the first of what I've seen. And there's another super chat in there of John's we'll get to in just a minute. But nice little emoji there. Looks like a little bird or something. Thank you all so much for your support. Truly appreciated. Go ahead and take that off the screen. If I can find that. There it is. All right. And let me just cover a few things here. So we will be giving away a copy of Retro Fan. I think we're going to give away copy Retro Fan number 25 tonight. So wrong cover, but great magazine. So stick around towards the tail end of the live stream tonight, probably around 9:25 Eastern. We will give away a copy of Retro Fan magazine. The good folks over at Tomorrow's Publishing will send it directly to your mailbox if you are located in the United States of America. I should say the continental U.S. And yeah, it's a great magazine. And just to tease things up, our special guest, who will be I'll be bringing on in just a little bit, is a man by the name of Eric J. We'll go with that for the time being. Taxi cab driver in, I believe, he can tell us more in a bit, the great city of New York. And he has over the years run into a celebrity or two. And so I thought I'd bring him on to share his experiences. And I think that'll be a fun conversation. Also, if you are a channel member, if you subscribe to the channel, if you've clicked that little join button, well, you are now seeing the you have early access, I should say, to the Where is Bull Shannon video that I posted. I'm actually kind of a fan of the Night Court reboot. I've got to say it has very much the same vibe, the same wonderful feeling that the original show had. While it only has John LaRoquette from the original show so far, it does what it needs to honor the prior cast, the original show, in particular Harry Anderson, who played Judge Stone. Melissa Rauch, pictured there in the center of the cast, she plays Judge Abby Stone, his daughter, and she's really good. She's really good. She was, of course, in The Big Bang Theory, And John Larroquette, as usual, is wonderful. The only thing that can make this show any more better would be Richard Mole as Bull Shannon. So Nostradamus Aristotle Bull Shannon, I should say. That's his full name. But anyway, those folks that have joined and are channel members have access to that video. I think I'll probably publish that to YouTube in a couple of days so that everybody can have access to it. And I, of course, want to say a very happy birthday to Ms. Katie Segal. We know her best as of course, Peg Bundy on the classic television show. Married with Children. She turns, well, I'm not gonna divulge her age. I'll just say that she was born in 1954. So you can do the math, figure it out. I can just see Eddie Haskell there saying, "Gee, you look swell, Mrs. Bundy." Eddie manages to show up in a lot of different places where he doesn't belong. He's quite the scoundrel. All right, so let me get to those supers if I can real quick. Those other supers. Let's see. Dan Campbell. We covered Rob and Dan's, but John Collins had another one. He says the new Night Court. This is the contrasting opinion. The new Night Court leaves a lot to be desired, including Marcia Warfield. Not a copy of her. There's not even a picture of Mel Torme in the chambers. Well, that's true, but it's Abby's chambers now instead of Harry's. But we'll see if over time Mel doesn't find a way to sneak his way back into the chambers. So far, so good for me. But I'll be interested in 2 or 3 more episodes getting your opinion on that, John. Thanks to everybody, my executive producers, and everybody who's dropped in a super chat so far tonight. Truly, truly appreciated. Let me I've got a brand new appreciation video. Let me play that, and then we'll keep moving. Let's see, where is that? Here we go. Thanks to each one of you for your support. Truly appreciated. All right. So the topic at hand tonight is celebrity encounters. And I thought I would ask, before we bring Eric on board, I thought I'd give each one of you a chance to maybe share a celebrity encounter that you've had. So what I'm thinking about is, I know there's folks like Tom McCluskey, our friend the Hungry Jerk, who has gone to so many conventions that he's seen he's seen hundreds of celebrities. But I'm talking about celebrities in the wild. When you don't go to a nostalgic convention, you're just at the airport, or you're in a store, or you're walking down the street, and you see someone, and whether you talk to them or not, I'd be interested in knowing who those folks were. Brian B. says, I met Barbara Eden. Rowdy Roddy Piper, Maximus Prime, was hugged by Rowdy Roddy Piper. He says, and had me in a corner talking to him for like 10 minutes. That's crazy. That's crazy. So the question is, have you ever stumbled across a celebrity in the wild? If so, please share it in the chat. Let's see what else we've got. Not about the topic at hand, but I'm going to post this anyway. Tom Lemery says, it sure would be cool if Brent Spiner made an appearance on Night Court. It really would. That would be another big one for me. Chris Budarakos ran into Yakov Smirnov. And Tug points out that Yakov is still kicking around these days. Thank heavens. Thank heavens. Yes, Tom has met hundreds of celebrities. Superfan Emily Miller says, The closest I've ever come to a celebrity encounter is having them talk to me on Twitter. Well, that's, you know what? That's a virtual encounter. I've had a couple of those myself. Let's see. Oh, okay. Back to the Roddy Piper story. Maximus Prime says, true story. Dude was so happy to see me. I guess he thought I was somebody else. I always get this, I swear. Okay. Superfan Tracy Rothmeyer, speaking of the new Night Court, ran into John the Roquette at a deli back home in Chicago. Nice. And here's one in the wild. Tom McCluskey sat next to Tony Bennett at Riverdance. Wow. And John H. says, I got to see and meet Barry Williams in person back in October 1995, but it wasn't accidental since it was during his national college tour. That's kind of when I met Adam West. It was during a college tour as well. Let's see. Bendover says, so many celeb encounters in LA and San Diego. Well, tell us about one. Let's see. Daryl Johnson said hello to Norm Macdonald. How cool is that? And Gary Carpenter met Donna Douglas and Noel Neal. Oh, Lois Lane. Wow, that's cool. Sure. Ted Kennedy on an airplane counts. Absolutely. Let's see. Tom Lemery says, at college I met Spike Lee and Michael Lookenland. Bobby Brady. Nice. And Mark Gerard, a.k.a. Jerry Gillespie, says, met Eddie Albert on Park Avenue Street in New York. Very cool. Super fan Mama Pink says, Magnum P.I. Tom Selleck. Oh, my goodness. Almost died. Met him in Japan. That's awesome. Al Bundy 59, welcome to the live stream tonight. Al says, I've had a few. Bob Hope, Mick Foley, John Travolta, and Kelly Preston. Probably were together. Red Skelton, Catherine Mary Stewart, and Jay Leno. Very cool. Das Gimp, welcome to the live stream as well. Roy Jones Jr. used to buy cookie cakes from me when I worked at the cookie company. Very cool. And Jeff Sadden says, I met Brooke Shields at an art show when she was still a teenager. That is awesome. So very cool. Superfan Keith E says, not sure how Siri is going to spell this, but I sat next to, well, I can figure this one out, Keith. I sat next to Hank Azaria, the voice on The Simpsons, for 3 hours in first class on an airplane flight. Very cool. I'm a big fan of Hank's. Not only was he, he's been in a lot of different movies and TV shows, along with voicing characters on The Simpsons. Another Fox TV show that I liked Hank in an awful lot was Herman's Head. Al Oduwardi says, I met Mandy Patinkin from The Princess Bride, of course. Probably pronouncing that last name wrong, but while I was working part-time in an office product superstore, I went and got one of those hello, my name is tags and had him sign it. Inigo Montoya and another with his name. Very cool. John H. says that he got to see Yakov Smirnoff in Branson once. Very cool act. And I love this. Tom, what haven't you done in life? Delivered a pizza to Donna Douglas once. Let's see. Superfan Tracy Rothmeyer says, I'm going to remember my dad worked for Playboy. My mom worked for CBS TV. So I kind of knew a lot of people growing up and living in our house and such. Wow. That is cool, Tracy. I did not know that about you. You probably have some stories to share as well. Julie Strom, welcome to the live stream, said, I walked right into David Brenner. He was so gracious and funny. That is awesome. What great. I love it when the celebrity encounters are pleasant ones, right? Every once in a while, I'll see in the comment section of one of my videos or something about an uncomfortable, unpleasant celebrity encounter. And that always breaks my heart. Tug, the unapologetic geek, says, when I lived in Orlando, I ran into Shaq a few times. Met a lot of other celebrities when I worked at Disney. Oh, very cool. Very cool. And Jay Trace says, Anson Williams came into the music store I worked in. Turns out he doesn't like to be called Potsy. Another person who really hates being called by their character's name is Gary Berghoff. Just really dislikes being called Radar. And here's the deal. I kind of get it. I know it comes with the territory. Ron Howard, in his autobiography, his memoir, The Boys, that he wrote with Clint Howard, his brother, he talks about that. He was always getting called Opie or Richie. And you just learn to live with it. But some celebrities really struggle with that. And I get it. And at the same time, I just acknowledge that it kind of comes with the fame. David Thomas, welcome to the live stream, says, I was working at a home club and Jack Palance walked in. Wow. Loaded his truck and got a good tip. And Groovy Highway, welcome to the live stream as well, says, I met Larry Hagman in 92. His eyebrows were crazy. I feel like my eyebrows are crazy sometimes. All I could think while I shook his hand is that they could have their own sitcom. That's funny. Bobby EM says, just Geraldo Rivera on Fifth Avenue, New York. I think that might be one of Eric's encounters as well. Raja 1938 says, ran into Julie Newmar in a Barnes & Noble. I was speechless. Sean Innes says, ran into Barbara Hershey in a bookstore, and this is one of those uncomfortable ones. Sorry about that. One of our super fans as well. Super fan Sean Innes had that horrible experience. That's too darn bad. And yeah, I've had Danny Staten tell me a few of his wrestling stories. He worked for the NWA Wrestling League for 14 years, so every wrestler that you can think of that came out of that league, he's met. Paul Vincent, speaking of wrestlers, ran into Hulk Hogan by accident at a restaurant in Tampa, Florida. He wasn't a very nice guy. Another uncomfortable experience. Gosh darn it. Mike D says, I've not met, but was right next to Ace Frehley of Kiss before. That would be cool. The members of that band are tall. I did not know that. They all wear those platform heels, so I just, they look tall, but I didn't know if they were really tall. Superfan Superplex, I should say, walked down 17th Street in Manhattan and saw Jerry O'Connell being interviewed on the sidewalk. Later on, turned out to be on Extra or something. Jerry is a tall guy. Gary Carpenter met Gail Storm, Custom God, used to see Roddy Piper at church. He wasn't always that kind of rowdy kind of feller. He was a nice, normal guy a lot of the time. Custom God says he attended church where my grandmother attended. I'd see him at church functions, and my children went to preschool with some of his kids. How cool is that? James Dyson never bumped into a celebrity, just met Jonathan Franks, Denise Crosby, and Brent Spiner at Chiller Theater Convention in New Jersey a few years back. That's cool, though. Holy cow, Jeff Sadden sold earrings to Joyce DeWitt, one of my favorite actresses. Brian B. points out that Roddy, really was great with fans. Super down to earth. Tom McCluskey met Bernard Fox at a Scottish cultural festival. So cool. And Superfan Thresh Pondo Pons says, met June Lockhart in Barnstable Airport when I was a kid. She gave me an autograph and a pep talk about how I shouldn't be afraid to talk to celebrities. Well, maybe nice celebrities like her. Let's see. Bend Over says, Charlie's Angels fans. I met Kate Jackson with her 5-year-old adopted son at a Vans in Santa Monica. Also met Farrah coming out of a restaurant close to Rodeo Drive. Nice. And Daryl Johnston talked to Jeannie Francis at the Atlanta airport and then helped her with her luggage at LAX. And Chris Budarakos ran into the Joker himself, Cesar Romero, at a restaurant in California. Gary Carpenter met Catherine Bach. And Jeff Sadden also met Weird Al and Pee Wee Herman on the same night, probably hanging out together. Superfan John Collins says he's met Hulk Hogan and a past U.S. president with blonde hair, who shall go unnamed. We'll just leave it at that. Let's see. Lars Land, welcome to the live stream, said, I met Steve Tyler and Joe Perry at my buddy's job. They shared the same building with Z100 Studios in NYC. And Bend Over said, met with Raquel Welch on Prospect Drive in La Jolla Cove. I froze, probably looked like a fool. Let's see. Yes, it's Dolly Parton's birthday as well. Yes. Okay, Mama Pink's going to tell us a little bit more about this story. She met Tom Selleck at a Paco de Luca concert. I had front row seats and he was in the back. I offered him to sit with us, but he said he was keeping a low profile. No one was around him at the intermission. Wow. Let's see. And yes, I knew this about you, Tom. Tom McCluskey, our friend the Hungry Jerk, used to dance on tour for Lionel Richie back in the 80s. The cool thing about that is, Tom, I saw you dancing then because I saw Lionel Richie on tour during the 80s. I'm very certain I probably saw you. I mean, obviously didn't recognize you, and you were much like myself. We probably both had hair at the time, but very cool. Herman Vasquez, welcome to the live stream, says after lunch, Midtown Manhattan around 2003, 2004. I bent over to tie my shoe, then a woman appeared and stopped dead in front of me. As I slowly moved my gaze up, I found out it was Renee Zellweger. Very cool. What a great experience. Karen Lester says, I answered the phone at a dog kennel I used to work at, and it was Jean Smart, designing women. Very cool. Paul Vincent says, met Robert Vaughn in St. Petersburg, Florida. All right. I think I'm going to stop there because we have our guest anxiously waiting, and I want to bring him on board. So I'm going to take this off the screen, and I'm going to welcome to the live stream. We haven't had a chance to test audio, so this should be interesting. Eric, here we go.
Can you hear me?
I sure can. It's
Perfect.
awesome.
Thank you.
I was worried that we might have a little bit of echo, something like that, but no, you sound great. You look great. Welcome to the live stream tonight. I so appreciate your willingness to come on. We've talked through through Twitter, and just sounds like you've had some really cool experiences. And I'm going to, I went through your Twitter feed and I grabbed some pictures. So let me throw those on the screen and you can talk about them.
Okay.
But then there probably are some other ones you'd like to share as well. So let me go over here. And the first one is the one, I think the very first one you showed me is this one.
Yeah, that's me and Danny DeVito. I think it was 2018. I picked him up on 46th Street and 8th Avenue, and he lives in a very famous apartment building on Central Park West. I don't want to give out too much information out of respect for him and his privacy, but I know that Madonna lives in that building, and I actually teased him about it. And I was like, when he told me the apartment building, I was like, Madonna lives in this building too, doesn't he? And he's like, yeah, she does. I was like, I'm sure like all the fans like congregate here to see you, and he's like, no, I think they're here to see her.
That's too funny. It's so cool that you are a taxi cab driver in New York City. Is that correct?
I was.
Okay.
I retired business in 2019.
Oh, what did you do in 2019?
I retired as a taxi driver.
Okay.
Yeah, but I did it. I started in 1990.
Mm-hmm.
From 1990 to 2006. I took 7 years off to pursue higher education. Then I came back I came back to New York. I was pursuing higher education in North Carolina.
Very cool.
Then I got accepted for graduate school after I got my college degree in North Carolina. I got accepted for graduate school at Columbia Teachers College. So I came back to New York in 2013, and I drove again part-time from 2013 to 2019. And 2019 is when I retired.
So do you miss it at all, or are you kind of glad to put those years behind you?
I still have the urge to go out there and pull a shift. I just in New York and I see the cabs. I want to jump in one. I'd be like, I can pull a 12-hour, just one,
Yeah.
But yeah, I still have the itch for it sometimes. But really, the industry was really destroyed by Uber. What do you call the app cars? They came in and just really.
It's 9 o'clock.
They really came in and just destroyed the business. Yeah.
Yeah. They really did. So did you actually purchase a medallion, or did you use someone else's medallion while you were driving?
I was always a lease driver, and thank goodness I did, because everyone would ask me, why don't you buy? Why don't you buy? And I just said, something in my spirit tells me not to buy. And I always leased from other drivers, and it was a good thing, because a lot of my friends who did buy, once the Uber and the Lyft came in, they were just wiped out. I know some of them had paid $1.2 million for a medallion.
Yeah.
It dropped when I left the business. It had dropped from a peak of 1.2 million. When I left in 2019, I think it had dropped to $90,000.
Wow.
So it just eviscerated the
Yeah.
business. Like I know several drivers were so devastated they actually committed suicide.
Right.
Very sad because they put everything into buying that medallion. They borrowed from their families, they borrowed from their churches, they borrowed from banks, they borrowed from credit unions, all to get that money together to buy this medallion. And it used to be one of the safest investments you could buy. I mean, it was like, so, everyone was anxious to loan you the money. The medallion brokers would loan you money because it was such a safe investment. I mean, it went from, I think when the medallion system opened, it was about $35 in 1932. And then it goes from $35 up to 1.2 million around 2012.
Yeah.
So it was always increasing, and it was a safe investment. Then this new technology comes along. I had just gotten back into the business when the Ubers and everything came in, and we were just caught blindsided. We couldn't even imagine, someone calling a cab through a phone. It was just like we were not prepared. We had no response to it. We were just like, what is this? We just noticed our business just dropped off to nothing. And it was a very sad time.
Truly, truly disruptive technology. And, you can argue whether, it was so unregulated at first too. And there's a little more regulation now, but it's that the position that it put a lot of folks in is truly tragic, like you said. And I'm glad to hear that you had only leased one. Let me get to some of these pictures here so that we'll get back to more cheery topics. But this is one, as I was digging through your Twitter feed, I know there's got to be a story behind this.
Oh, that's me and Bill Nye the Science Guy. I picked him up on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. I didn't recognize him at first, but I was like, this dude is wearing a cape. I'm like, who wears a cape? I was like, there's got to be something unique about this guy. So, he told me, his apartment is down in the 20s, near Midtown. Like I said, I try to keep the privacy of the... Yeah, so... and then I recognized him like towards the end of the ride. And I said, are you Bill Nye? And he said, yeah, I am. And I said, wow, I thought I recognized you. And I was like, nice cape. It's not Halloween or anything. We talked a little bit about the show. And then I said, would you mind taking a picture with me? He said, sure, I'd love to. So that's the picture with me and Bill Nye.
So what year was that one again?
Bill Nye was that was my second time through, so it had to be around maybe 2015, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. That's me seated in the cab, and that's him poking his head through the window. Yeah. Oh, and the funny story about Danny DeVito. Another story, I was afraid to ask him would he take a selfie with me? I thought maybe he'd, get an attitude, but I knew it was a good chance he would, because the whole ride up, the guy is the sweetest, most down-to-earth guy you ever want to meet. He treated me like I was an old friend of his, because I had mentioned to him that I remember one time he had won a poll where he was voted the most memorable character in TV sitcom history. And I don't know if he's since been supplanted, but I mentioned that to him, and he's like, oh, all you taxi drivers voted for me. That's how I got it. And so I mentioned it, and he started telling me about his family in Brooklyn, and he grew up in New Jersey, and it wasn't that long a ride, but he was so friendly and so down to earth and so kind. So I said at the end of the ride, I said, hey, can we take a picture together? He said, sure, we're going to take a picture together. And he said, no, I'm a director, I'm a professional, so I'm gonna line up the shot. So he actually lined up the shot. He's like, okay, we got the right lighting and angles here. So he's like, all right, perfect. There it is. And he says, hit it. And I hit the button, and he says, all right, Eric, have a good day. And he walked in his apartment building.
I love that. I love that. It's definitely a great picture. Certainly one to be treasured.
Yeah, he's my favorite of all time. So nice. So nice.
What about this feller?
That's Geraldo Rivera. He wasn't a passenger in my taxi. I ran into him. I was going to pay my respects to former Governor Mario Cuomo when he passed away. because actually I had bumped into Governor Cuomo at one point on the street after he had left the governorship, and he sat and talked to me for 10 minutes. It turns out we were from the same neighborhood in Queens. So we were talking about the old neighborhood, and it was such a good time. And I just never forgot how nice, he was. He was by himself, former governor, walked up, shook my hand. He talked to me for 20 minutes on the street, Governor Cuomo. So when he passed away, I wanted to pay my respects. So I went down to the funeral home, Frank Campbell's on 81st and Madison in New York City. And the line was so long. It was like I waited 4 hours. I finally had to give up. But the line was so long for so many people who wanted to go in and go past the casket and pay their respects. And I turn around, and who's standing next to me but Geraldo Rivera, in line with everybody else. And so I said, hey, Geraldo, big fan. I know your work and everything. And he said, I said, we talked a little bit about the governor and everything. And I said, okay, can we get a picture? So there it is. I got a picture of him with, that's me and Geraldo Rivera.
Very cool. So those are the pictures I saw. Have you ran into anybody else during your adventures?
Well, Dave, if we went into all of them, I could take up about 7 of your shows.
I'm giving you about 5 more minutes. So give me the highlights, my friend.
All right. Well, the first one was when I was 17 years old. This is 1982, before I was a taxi driver. Taking a bus uptown, Manhattan, just a public mass transit, bus in New York City. And, usually don't pay attention to faces around you. And so I just glanced over, and the guy sitting in the back corner seat across from me, because I always took the back seat on the bus, the last seat in the back in the corner. That was my favorite seat. So the guy on the other side, the guy had his head down in a book. And I was like, oh, okay. So then he finally looked up, and I saw his face, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. And it was Haywood Nelson from What's Happening.
Yeah.
And, I was 17 years old. Obviously, this is my first celebrity. I was completely starstruck because I had been a big fan of the show. And I said, hey, are you Dwayne from, and he said, yeah. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. First of all, what are you doing on a bus in the middle of New York City? Aren't you in Los Angeles looking for acting jobs or your next TV series or whatever? And he said he had actually left acting and had come back to New York. He's a native New Yorker. So he had left Hollywood, left acting, and he had come back to New York City, and he was in college studying, I believe it was engineering. I know it was some kind of technical thing, and he just returned to normal guy life. He was on a city bus with the rest of us, and he was studying one of his books for an exam. And I think it was engineering, if my memory, it's been 40 years, but I believe it was engineering. And I was like, that's amazing. I was like, he just left the business like that? And he was like, yeah. And I started a new life, just a regular guy life. And he was a regular guy right there on the bus with the rest of us.
You know what? That entire cast did that. There's no one really from that cast that really, hit it big. And Danielle, I'm trying to think of her name. I think her name's Danielle Spencer. She was his little sister.
Yeah, Roger.
Yeah, she was Raj's little sister. She has just been through so much, but she went on and got a degree and became a veterinary doctor, in veterinary medicine. So a lot of cool things.
Right. And then they had the reunion shows, and I really appreciated seeing him on that. And then the next one, I think, is around 1986. I was in Times Square, just hanging out, and who's standing next to me? It's Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson,
wow,
a lady friend. And this is when he was like he wasn't champion yet. He was like the top contender. But I was a boxing fan at the time, and I recognized him. And I asked him for an autograph, and he said, sure, I'll sign it, But he was standing in the street, so he was actually blocking cars from being able to get by because he was like not on the sidewalk. So he was signing for me, and they started blowing their horn at him to move. And he just like burst out in this profane attack, and he started cursing the driver. He's like, I'm signing an autograph, Mapper. You got to wait. So, so he signed it. His autograph, looked like an EKG, but it was still his.
So that was pre-Robin Givens or post-Robin Givens?
Robin Givens. This is about 1986, 87. Okay. And then the next one before I was a taxi driver was really a big one. This is Robert De Niro.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
I had taken a job as an assistant at a store in Soho in Manhattan. And on West Broadway and Broome Street. So I came out of the office. I was just catching like some fresh air. And who's walking up the street but Robert De Niro? And obviously I froze. And I was like, stop, and I was like, and he took off his sunglasses. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh, Mr. De Niro, you're a legend. And I'm such a big fan. And everyone knows it. Da, 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 da. And I was like, so he just nodded his head. And then I said, can I get an autograph? And he said, okay, sure. Then there was like an awkward moment there because I didn't know what to do. And he looked at me, he's like, do you have something for me to sign? So I was like, I don't have anything right here. Could you wait just 1 minute while I run inside my office and get a piece of paper? He's like, listen, I'm in a hurry, but I'm going to do this for you. It's got to be fast. That's what he said. It's got to be fast. You got to go in there and get it and come out real quick. So he waited on the sidewalk about 2 minutes while I went in and got it. He was still there when I got out. And he signed it, and he put Robert De Niro to Eric Vila, Live Life. I'll never forget. Yeah. And then
that was back in the day. I was going to say, these days, if you ask for an autograph, it's really rare for a celebrity to give you one because they think you're going to try to sell it on eBay or something like that.
Right.
But I guess back in the old days, I remember being able to ask for autographs, and no one was asking me for money. They were actually kind and gracious and would give them.
Right. And so that was in 1989. The end of that year is when I got my hack license and I went into the taxi business, and I did my first fare in January of 1990. A month later, I'm driving my taxi. I'm in the business. I'm working. It's February 1990. The regular night. So I always knew that Knicks games, when they opened up, when they would end, I should say, guaranteed a fare. So you would know I would follow like, okay, on the radio, Knicks game is over. Head over to the Garden, guaranteed to get a fare. So I went over and I pull into like the middle aisle there on 33rd Street. There's a middle alley between 7th and 8th Avenue. And I see a guy flagging me down, and I didn't really look at his face at first, and he jumps in the back, and I turn around and I just froze. And I was like, he saw the look on my face, and he just leaned back and he smiled. And it was John F. Kennedy Jr.
Wow.
And I was like, this is unbelievable. I can't believe it. So he's like, he just grinned. He's like, I know you know who I am. So he just smiled, and he just was very, very kind, very gracious. I took him to the Upper West Side. He's passed on now. So it was 91st in Central Park West. We talked a little bit about politics on the way up, a little bit about women, a little bit about this and that. And he couldn't have been kinder. And I had John F. Kennedy Jr. twice. I remember the second time I picked him up, he had just passed the bar exam. So I was like, he got in. He had just gone to a movie with a friend, and he had seen, I believe it's called Clockers with, who is the, Kiefer Sutherland, right? He was in the movie. He had just seen that movie, and I reminded him like the first time I picked him up, and he was like, "Oh, you remember everything very well." And he's like, "I'm gonna give you some advice. Don't go see that movie. It was awful." I congratulated him on passing the bar exam because I had read about it happening in the newspaper. And he said, this time, I'm just going to go over to Riverside Drive. I've got my car parked over there because there was like no parking near the movie theater. And I remember he had a burgundy Lincoln over on Riverside Drive. I drove him to his car and he got in and he drove off. And I remember the day that I heard that he passed away, and I was just so devastated. I felt like I lost a friend. We weren't like friends actually, but I felt like I had lost a friend, and it was very tough. But he was my first celebrity as a driver, and there were many, many more to follow. I could go through a few names. I could Melba Moore, Elkie Summer, Al Roker. Iman, the wife of David Bowie.
Yeah.
Rob Lowe. I had this is a great one. I had both Ted Danson and Mary Steenburgen together.
Yeah.
They were with some friends of theirs, another couple. So that means there were four of them, which requires somebody to sit up front with me in the taxi because three in the back and one in front. So Ted Danson sat next to me up front. And I was like, "Hey, you're with your wife, Mary Steenburgen." And I'll never forget. He said, "I love her to bits and pieces." That was the term he used for Mary Steenburgen. So, and I took him to a restaurant down in Tribeca. He was very pleasant. And I talked about Cheers and how I loved that show. And it was like, are Sam and Diane ever going to get together? And he laughed about that. And it was, it was a great time. I had Hugh Grant and Elizabeth Hurley. I had Rob Lowe. This one you're going to love. I had Leonard Nimoy and his wife. I picked him up on the Beacon Theater. We're on 74th and Broadway. And he said, I'm going down to 46th Street and 8th Avenue. And I said, okay. So I said, and I set this up perfectly. I said, which way do you want to go? He said, you can take 9th Avenue down. And I said, that sounds logical. He laughed for 5 minutes straight.
You got to think he's probably heard that joke a few times during his years. That's awesome, though. That is awesome. So you said that Danny was your favorite, or do you have someone that actually topped Danny in terms of encounters?
Well, another one would be Beverly D'Angelo.
Okay, from
Vacation movie.
Yeah.
She just got in, and I told her, I recognized her, and she just opened up and started talking to me like I was a friend of hers for 20 years. I'm like, this woman is talking to me like she's telling me all her business and everything that's going on, and I'm like, wow, I'm like really being open. So she was telling me what had gone wrong with Al Pacino. They have twins together.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, they have twins together. They were in a relationship. So she's giving me like all the rundown on what went wrong in the relationship and what was Al complaining about her and this and that. And she said she hadn't had any work in a while. So then she was like, they were arguing about custody and visitation of the twins. And she gave me like all the backstory on that. And it was just like amazing. This woman who like didn't know me just felt like I was a friend of hers. And I actually picked her up twice as well. Another one, Charlotte Ray. From Different Strokes.
Yeah, Mrs. Garrett.
Yeah, she was a passenger of mine. Very nice lady. She was with a friend of hers, so I really didn't get a chance to talk to her because she spent most of the trip talking to her friend. But I let her know I recognized her, and Jackie Mason. And there was so many more. Elkie Summer. And let's see, who was the woman who was married to Ron Perlman? I'm trying to remember the actress's name.
Linda Hamilton?
No,
that's she's married to James Cameron.
Right.
She was in Beauty and the Beast with Ron Perlman.
Right. I'm trying to think of her name. She was married Ron Perlman, the makeup magnate. She was an actress. I'm trying to remember her name. Oh boy, I can't think of it right now. It'll come to me in a second. But yeah, I had that. There was another one I had. Another one. Do you remember there was a guy who played Blair's father from Facts of Life?
I don't remember who that would have been.
He's born in the UK, but he was another passenger in my taxi, and he was another passenger in my taxi, and I remember. Let me see who else I can remember. So many others. But anyway, I was taking him out to JFK Airport. I'll never forget this. And we just got in the worst traffic jam. He's a British actor. He played Blair's father on a couple of episodes. I think there was two different guys who played Blair's father, but we got into this terrible traffic jam. And so we had a lot of time to talk. And he went through his whole acting career. And he was telling me about like his first romantic experience. I'm like, when he was a teenage boy, he was with his dance teacher. It was hilarious story. And he said he's like she pulled me closer while we were dancing, and I was just like, he's like, what's gonna happen with a teenage boy, So he said he wound up having an affair with her for like years afterwards. So
oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I'm trying to recall his name, but
I looked it up while you were talking. One of the actors was Nicholas Coster. Is that the
Is
fella?
he born in the UK?
It does look like he's British born.
Yes, that's him. That's
Yeah.
him.
Very cool.
That's
Let me
him.
do this. Let me do this, Eric. I'm going to keep my live stream probably to just a little over an hour today, but I teased you that I wanted to ask you some questions.
Uh-huh.
Did you get a chance to look at those questions?
I did.
Okay, good. I want to give away this magazine, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to take you off screen for a minute and bring you back on for the questions. Are you able to hang out with me for a little bit longer?
Absolutely.
Cool. See you in just a moment. All right, folks. So let me go ahead and share a screen here. Again, we're giving away a copy of RetroFan magazine. It's going to be either RetroFan 25 or 26. It all depends on what our friends at Tomorrow's Publishing have as their most recent edition, having been published and having sent out to fans. So the word today is #RetroFan. So I'd love to see, we got 74 people on the live stream right now. I'd love to see 25 to 30 people get into the drawing. All you have to do is type in #RetroFan in the chat. And again, what we're going to be, the winner will be getting a copy of RetroFan magazine. It won't be RetroFan number 24. It'll either be 25 or 26. But it doesn't matter. This was a great issue. I tell you, I love this issue. As a matter of fact, I used the Leave It to Beaver article there as inspiration for a video that I recently did about newspaper outlets that were reporting the death of Jerry Mathers, the beaver, way back in 1968. They said he'd been a casualty of the Vietnam conflict, and of course, we know that Jerry did not pass away, but it's interesting that even way back then, there were reports of people passing away that truly hadn't. Rumors of deaths that had not occurred. So I used that as the inspiration for a recent video. Let me go ahead and take that off screen. We got 27 entries in. When we get to 30, I think I'll go ahead and hit the draw button. So we're just a couple of entries away. So folks, get your entries in. And then when we're done with that, I'm going to ask my friend Eric a few questions. Really, it's a segment of the live stream that I like to call my favorite things. So I'm trying to learn a little bit more about Eric and a few of his favorite things. So are we we're at 31. I feel good about pushing the button here. So let's go ahead and do that and see who our winner is tonight. I see my friend Scott Barnes in the drawing. Hey, Scott, it's good to see you. Who is our winner tonight? It's John Collins. Holy cow. Super fan, actually super friend, John Collins is our winner tonight. He will be receiving the most recent issue of RetroFan magazine. Folks, I will post a link to RetroFan's homepage so that you can go out there and take a look at it. I believe you can even take a look at a few sample pages of the magazine. It's really great. So this will be in the description field of the video. It's not there right now, but after the live stream ends, I'll go post it and put that link in there for everyone so that they can click on it and take a look at what RetroFan magazine is all about. They truly are, just like the folks over at Remind magazine, they're geeks. They love all of the TV shows and movies that we love, the entertainment from decades gone by. And RetroFan really does a deep dive. When they cover a topic, they do a deep dive. It's really good journalism and just an awful lot of fun. So anyway, congratulations to John Collins. It's always fun to see not only a community member, but a channel member win. I will point out that there is no bias in the drawing towards channel members versus community members, but it's great to see a channel member win. So congrats to you, John. And I believe I already have your details. Unless your address has changed, shoot me an email with your most recent address and anything that's updated. I would appreciate that. You know how to reach out to me. Just reach out to me through Twitter like you normally do. Congratulations again. Let me go ahead and take that off the screen. There we go. And let me bring Eric back on board. Let's see if we can get it to work. Oh, here we go. We got to do this. I'm going to do this, Eric. Let's there we go.
I wanted to let you know, I do remember the actress now that I picked up, who was married to the makeup magnate.
Yeah.
Ellen Barkin.
Oh, Ellen Barkin. Okay, yeah. Famous movie actress.
Yes.
She was married to Dennis Quaid for a while, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So my favorite things, or in this case, Eric's favorite things. First question for you, my friend. What's your favorite nostalgic, so a TV show from decades gone by, and why?
I'm obsessed with the original Twilight Zone. Rod Serling is a certified genius. I mean, to come up with that, I've seen all the episodes dozens of times, and I can still watch them dozens more. I mean, it's just incredible. I don't know if he wrote all the episodes. I think he might have guest writers come on, but
he did.
Just brilliant.
Yeah.
It was like an individual thing for me personally. The Honeymooners was another one, even though most people don't realize it only ran like 2 seasons.
Right.
I was like, what happened? I was like, this thing is a classic. How could it only run 2 seasons? But it did. I don't know if Jackie Gleason didn't want to do it anymore, or what happened, or was it low ratings, but I love that one. Those are my 2 all-time favorites.
That's awesome. The Honeymooners, ran for just a handful of seasons, but there were also some additional episodes that were made. Jackie Gleason did like something called the Jackie Gleason Show. It was more like a variety show, and they did some Honeymooners segments there as well. But you're right; it's classic, and of course the inspiration for the Flintstones as well. Next question: favorite actor or actress from a retro television show?
It's got to be, favorite actor's got to be, like I said, Jackie Gleason. I mean, the man was a comic genius.
He was.
And I just loved his work. And of course, the female, Lucille Ball. It's another show. I watched the Lucy Show, like all the reruns a million times. And it went off the air like 8 years before I was born. But I just loved the way she would just go the extra mile just for a laugh. She wouldn't mind getting herself dirty or, covered in chocolate or whatever it took to get us to laugh, she would do it. And she was, and I just so admire and respect that about her.
Absolutely. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Was there a particular television program that brought your whole family together?
Absolutely. I would say Good Times. In the African-American community, like I can remember my parents telling me, like, when they would say colored people on TV, So it was like it was a big deal in the community. Everyone gathered around. So definitely Good Times and Sanford and Son.
2 great shows.
Those were the family go-tos that we would all gather around and watch. Twilight Zone was like my individual thing. That wasn't really something that the family got together on.
Yeah.
And the Honeymooners was like I watched the reruns on Channel 11 in New York at 11:30 at night, when everyone would be asleep, and that was another just a personal one. But the family ones, Good Times and Sanford and Son, definitely.
Both awesome. I loved Good Times. I had a problem, which was I also loved Happy Days, and they ran against each other.
Yeah.
And that made it difficult. And more often than not, after Happy Days premiered, I ended up going that route. But boy, was I disappointed and upset, even as a young kid, when John Amos was let go from the show. And I know that, the whole, there's a scene with Esther Roll where she reacts to
damn.
Yeah, that scene is powerful. And
Yeah.
I remember watching it in reruns and just being moved, incredibly moved. And I have to say now, Happy Days was my go-to as a kid, but now, truthfully, the first couple of seasons of Happy Days are really standout and they're great. But if I'm thinking about a substantive comedy that really moves me, and even with Jimmy Walker in it,
Right.
but is Good Times. I really love that show. It's well done, and Sanford and Son, yes, mostly because I loved Aunt Esther.
Right. Oh yeah, she was hilarious. Yeah.
She was indeed. Okay, most vivid television memory.
Oh, that's damn. That's the role in Good.
Really?
That one just jolts you.
Yeah.
That one just pierces your soul to see that one.
Yeah, she drops that bowl and just that moment of
what an acting job that was. What an acting performance.
Incredible actress. All right, so you gave us a little bit of what you've been doing recently, but when you're not, watching nostalgic TV or these days pursuing other things besides driving a taxi, but what do you do these days? What do you do for fun? What are your hobbies?
I'm on the internet and social media way too much. Really need to cut back on it. I plan to start a writing career. First thing is going to be a memoir of my years as a taxi driver. It got delayed a bit because of the pandemic. I had joined a writer's workshop. I live in North Carolina now. I had joined a writer's workshop to help me, polish my writing skills. And I was going to write, I'm still planning to write a memoir of all my years as a taxi driver. And of course, I'll include all the celebrity encounters in the book. And when I took my gap in between driving, 2006 to 13, and I actually went to college and earned a bachelor's degree in history. So I plan to start writing after my memoirs. The second book's going to be a history of the taxi industry in New York City from beginning to present. And then I was going to write some more history books that are New York City themed about, the immigrants and the neighborhoods of New York City. One is going to be about, the ethnic groups of Brooklyn. So yeah, my next career is going to be as a writer.
Love it.
So I'm a big YouTube fan. I'm on YouTube. I'm a subscriber of yours, and I enjoy your content. I love the old shows, and so YouTube is a big one. The internet, way too much. I need to cut back. And I'm a news junkie.
Yeah.
So I'm going between when I'm not on YouTube, and I'm going back and forth between CNN and MSNBC, and because I like to keep up with what's going on in the world, and I can always hold conversations with people no matter who I come across, because I do have so much knowledge about the world. I mean, people are amazed. Talk about their countries and their country's politics, and you're the first American who's known anything about my country, So, news junkie, social media junkie, YouTube junkie. That's how I would characterize my entertainment.
Well, I think that you're not the only one out there that especially consumes a lot of YouTube, consumes a lot of news and social media as a whole. So, hey, I've got to answer a question here. Alo Duarte says, Eric is an awesome guest. How'd you find him? Well, I will tell you how I found him. Eric sent me a message. I think it was through Twitter, wasn't it?
I think it might have been on YouTube.
Was it on YouTube that you, was it a comment?
Yeah, I commented on I think it was a celebrity interaction. You had wrote about that celebrity, and I believe comments that person had been a passenger in my taxi. I think that's how it started.
Okay, perfect. Well, I appreciate the comment, and I've appreciated the conversation. Eric, as you get closer to being, getting a book close to completion, or any old reason, if there's something else you'd love to visit about and come on another live stream at a future time, I'd love to have you again. You're a very articulate a person who has a lot of similar passions to not only mine, but I think my community members as well. So thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it myself immensely. It's been a great opportunity, and I would love to come on again.
Thank you very much, Eric. I'm going to go ahead and let you go, and then I'm going to talk to the community a little more and show some of their comments on screen. But I really do appreciate you joining me tonight. Take care, buddy.
Not a problem. Take care, Dave.
See ya. All right, folks, that was great. Wow. Eric Johnson. I didn't want to say his last name, but he went ahead and posted it on the screen, so I think I'm okay to do that. That was a lot of fun. And, it's that book that he's planning on writing about the taxi cab industry, that's something I will buy because it is fascinating. Fascinating. Eric on Twitter. How do you find Eric on Twitter? Superfan Emily Miller wants to know how to find Eric on Twitter. Let me give you, I'm sure he wouldn't mind this. Let me find this really quick. His handle on YouTube, hang on a second. Not on YouTube, on Twitter. And I'm going to put this on, let's see if I can put this on the screen so folks can see it. Okay, I got it. Hang on 1 second, folks. I'm going to double check that one more time, make sure that I spelled it correctly. I did. Okay. This is how you find Eric on Twitter. His handle is @GhettoGriot. So I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but that's the handle. That's how you find him on Twitter. And I have a feeling he would love to see you guys follow his comments. He, like I said, he posts some fun pictures. He is very knowledgeable about what's going on in the world. And he just is someone that I think a lot of you would enjoy following. So I'd encourage it. Let me just say, I think I had one more super chat I wanted to get to that I saw. Hopefully I didn't miss any. And this was from John Collins again, our winner tonight of Retro Fan Magazine. John says, I would love to meet Geraldo. He's done so much for persons with disabilities. You know what, Geraldo, I don't always agree with all of his politics, but I will say this. He is a passionate human being who absolutely, he really stands behind the things he believes in. And I respect him completely for that. So let me go back here and let me just say to everybody that has joined me tonight, joined Eric and myself tonight for this live stream. I just truly appreciate you. This is what YouTubing is all about. I love making videos and I love reading all the comments. It's about connection, right? And this is another way. The live streams are another way to connect. Oh, by the way, superfan Emily Miller says, found him and followed. That's awesome. And Zuperplex says, is Eric planning on being a teacher? Sounds like he's planning on writing for the time being. So that's very cool. And if we bring him on at a future date, I'll pin him down on that, whether he has teaching in his future. Let me go ahead and... comment from my friend Scott Barnes says, a great interview, Dave, and Eric was an awesome guest. He really was. Scott, dude, it's about time for me to come knocking to you again. I need to bring my good friend Scott Barnes back on to the live stream. And I know you have a celebrity encounter or two you can share. So Herman Vasquez says, can you have this topic again? Love the way you handled this live stream. I promise you this. I will do this topic again. Probably not next week, but down the road, I'll definitely have this topic again. And maybe we'll bring Eric on for part 2. Or maybe we'll bring Eric on for a different topic another time. What's happening? Sounds like what's happening would be a fun one to have him on board for. Thrash Pondo says, Scott Barnes. Hey, Scott. Yeah, Scott's great. Scott is one of the individuals that really helped me early on with the channel. We did videos together, and he, of course, joined many of my live streams, and I'm just forever appreciative of Scott. And he was a coworker of mine. I used to work for a large financial services firm, and we had worked for decades together. And he's just a brother from another mother. So love Scott, and so good to see him in the live stream. And I'll be reaching out to you, Scott. All right. Enough. I've got, I know we all have things to do. Now, some of us, I'm going to go have dinner, but then I'm going to pop into Thrash Pondo's after party. So just a reminder, folks, that Thrash Pondo will be hosting an after party tonight. And he always does just a wonderful job of that. But I want to say thank you to each one of you. Thanks to everybody that has dropped a super chat or a super sticker into the chat. That kind of support is truly appreciated. Thank you to all my channel members, those folks that have clicked that little join button and have exclusive access to videos ahead of time and have other videos. They have their own super fan live stream that happens once a month. Thanks to those folks. But regardless of how you support, it isn't all about monetary support either. If you share the video or comment on a video or click that thumbs up button, as good old Lance and Daryl like to remind folks about, those are all ways of supporting the channel as well. And you all are incredibly I just appreciate you guys so much. And let me share this because it's so very true about each one of you.
You are special.
All right, folks. Thanks to each one of you for all your support. And I just hope you have a wonderful evening. And with that, I'm going to leave you with a little video. I don't know who else remembers Dynamite magazines, but that was one of my favorite magazines during the 70s, the late 70s and early 80s. Leave you with a little video slideshow about that magazine while everybody heads on over to Thrash Pondo's channel for his live stream. So have a great night, folks. Thanks again to Eric, and thanks to each one of you.